It's the Sultanate of Oman television with the latest world news live from this news center of the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. His Highness Sayyid Yazan bin Haytham Al Saeed presides over conclusion of the Camel Race Festival 2021 of Oman Camel Racing Federation. The Ministry of Labour and International Labour Organization organized workshop on a project of preparing national employment policy. And the Royal Guard of Oman marks its annual day. Thank you for joining us. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq received a cabal of thanks from Her Excellency Bidya Devi Bhandari, President of Nepal, in reply to His Majesty's greetings cabal on the occasion of her country's National Day. His Highness Sayyid Yazan bin Haytham Al Saeed, Minister of Culture, Sports and Youth, presided over the conclusion of the Camel Race Festival 2021 of Oman Camel Racing Federation. The race is organized by Oman Camel Racing Federation in cooperation with the Royal Camel Care at Al Falaj Track and under the supervision of the Minister of Culture, Sport and Youth. The race included the presentation of a number of welcome and patriotic poems, a display of arda running and camel skills, the presentation of the art of humble on the camel's backs, with different formations and various musical performances in cooperation with the Royal Camel Corps. His Highness Sayyid Yazan bin Haytham Al Saeed handed over prizes for the first places winners at the conclusion of the festival, which witnessed great competition from camel owners and breeders from various governorates in the Sultanate of Oman, with participation of more than 3,000 camels since the inauguration of the competitions last Friday. The Minister of Labour, in cooperation with the International Labour Organization, organized a workshop on a project of preparing national employment policy. The workshop aims to benefit from information and data to establish employment strategy that goes in line with the social and economic goals and other development plans. The workshop also aims to direct higher education establishments to introduce specializations that match with requirement of labour market, in addition to the integration and planning process for the short term, in order to fill the gap between national manpower and demand for skills in the public and private sectors. The Ministry of Higher Education, Scientific Research and Innovation organized today an introductory symposium for the Endowment Foundation for Education Support, SIRAJ. The institution comes to renew the development of role of the endowments in sponsoring education and supporting its scientific programs and finding diverse and sustainable sources to support education at all levels. It aims to provide the necessary support for students with disabilities and attract donations to support education. The opening of the symposium was held under the auspices of Her Excellency Dr. Rahma bint Ibrahim Al Mahruqiya, Minister of Higher Education, Scientific Research and Innovation, Chairperson of the Foundation's Board of Directors. The Royal Guard of Oman celebrates today its annual day, which falls on the 1st of November each year. It's witnessing a qualitative leap in various military, administrative and technical fields thanks to the generous care and lofty interest it enjoys from the presence of His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq, the Supreme Commander. The ceremony was held under the auspices of Major General Salim bin Ali Al-Husseini, Commander of the Royal Guard of Oman, who inaugurated schools and training center systems at the RGO. He also pinned medals of special services and honored the excelled personnel of the RGO for their great efforts. The Royal Guard of Oman through the years reached a high level of efficiency and combat capabilities, and its units are equipped with modern weaponry and systems. The RGO went through a number of stages of development in educational, academic and technological fields, in addition to training and qualifying national cadres. You are with the Sultanate of Oman television, and later to come in our news bulletin. For the first time, the New Zealand Strait was crossed in an electric plane. Once again, welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. The Ministry of Health, in cooperation with the World Health Organization, launched the National Monitoring Frame to prevent from the non-communicable diseases and combat them. The ministry said that limiting the non-communicable diseases came through strengthening policies and developing abilities and support efforts to set an active mechanisms for prevention, adding that the accurate monitoring is an integrated approach in treating the non-communicable diseases and provide the required information in the suitable time. The ministry indicated that the National Monitoring Frame to prevent from the non-communicable diseases is based on a different number of local and international indicators related to treating the most common non-communicable diseases such as heart disease, cancer, and blood vessels. The first Omani electric car, Maze, will be launched in the Sultanate of Oman and worldwide in the year 2022. The car was designed by national cadres, and the experts in this field stress that the design is unique in the world of cars, as well as it is in line with the international standards. During the first year, around 100 cars will be produced with hopes of a good production value in the future. The Minister of Culture, Sports, Youth organized today the activity of the Creative Industries Map Study to measure art-related creative industries. More details coming up in this report by Saleh Al-Rahbi.
To disseminate an in-depth understanding of the creative sectors and provide necessary legislations and facilities, thus boosting these sectors at the local and international levels, the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Youth launched the activities of the Creative Industries Map Study.
The project aims to promote exchange and best practices on the creative sector in Oman. It aims to help dialogue on policies related to the creative sector, but also the ways of helping supporting talents in the country. It is based on best practices, international practices, and then we adapt it to the national context.
170 participants will take part in the two-day event, representing 17 sectors related to the creative industries, which include music, theater, cinema, fine arts, photography, digital arts, publishing, advertising and marketing, architecture, fashion, culinary arts, entertainment, heritage, libraries and museums, literature, translation, and computer games.
Each country has its own map, and they have divided the sectors based on their local context. Initially, we chose these 17 sectors because we believe that they cover most of the creative and cultural sectors in Oman. This map, the CCI map, will help support the cultural strategy of the Culture, Sports and Youth Ministry in terms of participating in international reports and representing the creative industry in Oman.
The project will help in developing a competitive environment to meet the aspirations of the creative Omani youth in line with Oman Vision 2040. Through the Creative Industries MAP project, the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Youth endeavors to enhance the profile of the creative industries of art-related sectors and their added value contributions to the national economy. صالح بخلفان الرحبي, سلطنة Oman Television, Muscat.
Thank you, Saleh, there. To present the heritage and history in Sur City in the Governorate of South Sharqiya, Fatah Al Khair Center project was opened today. The center, which includes 5 halls, will enhance the heritage and the economic sectors through value added, as well as provide job opportunities and increase the sources of tourism attraction and financial incomes. That, of course, was Fatah Al Khair project. World leaders and international delegates began arriving in Glasgow today for the COP26 climate conference and were greeted by UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson and United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Representatives of more than 200 countries are gathering for the conference. Boris Johnson's Antonio Guterres welcomed leaders one by one with elbow bumps and smiles this morning in front of a giant planet Earth on a blue background. More than 120 leaders are coming to Glasgow for the first 2 days of the 12-day summit. From November 1st to 12th, they will discuss new targets for cutting or curbing the growth of emissions that contribute to climate change. Meanwhile, delegates, observers and journalists today face long delays entering the huge conference venue for the COP26 climate conference beside the River Clyde in Glasgow. Thousands queued in a chill wind to get through a bottleneck at the entrance to the venue long before security. Some are already turning back and deciding to work from hotel, concerned that they will miss the negotiation meetings. Now, all the way to Russia. Russia continues to register a high number of coronavirus cases as much of the country's business remain closed in an effort to counter a weeks-long surge in infections. Belgorod Regional Hospital was struggling with an increase in cases. Doctors said that they were dealing with emergency calls from dozens of addresses. Often when medical teams arrive at these addresses, there are multiple cases in each home. Russia was the first country in the world to authorize a coronavirus vaccine in August 2020 and proudly named the shot Sputnik or Sputnik V to showcase the country's scientific age. But the vaccination campaign has stalled amid widespread public skepticism blamed on conflicting signals from authorities. About 51 million Russians, just over a third of the country's people, were fully vaccinated as of today. The National Coronavirus Task Force today reported 40,402 new infections over the previous day. The death toll reported today was 1,155. More than 8.51 million infections have been recorded in the country, 146 million during the pandemic. From Russia to New Zealand. Gary Friedman made history by becoming the first person to fly across New Zealand's Cook Straits in an electric plane. Friedman's 40-minute solo flight in the small two-seater came 101 years after the first person flew a conventional aircraft over the body of water that separates the South Pacific nation's two main islands. Today's flight was aimed at drawing attention to the possibilities of greener flying and timed to coincide with the opening of a pivotal United Nations Climate Summit in Glasgow, Scotland. 49-year-old Friedman, who founded the company Electric Air, said he's long been passionate about the environment, and the idea came as he thought about the incongruity of driving an electric car and flying a gas-powered plane. It weighs less than 400 kilograms and is much quieter than a traditional aircraft. For the 78-kilometer straight, Friedman flew it at just 305 meters above the sea level and at the relatively slow speed of 130 kilometers per hour in order to preserve its charge. Friedman said it takes about 1 hour to fully charge the plane. You're watching the Sultanate of Oman television, and to conclude this news bulletin, here are the main points once again. His Highness Sayyid Yazin bin Haytham Al Saeed presides over conclusion of the Camel Race Festival 2021 of Oman Camel Racing Federation. The Ministry of Labour and International Labour Organization organized workshop on a project of preparing national employment policy. The Royal Guard of Oman marks its annual day. And with that, we do conclude this news bulletin, brought to you live from this news center of the Sultanate of Oman television. From me and the entire news team, we thank you for joining us, wish you a pleasant evening, and of course, good night.